latest Venom trailer was released this morning at 6 a.m. Pacific or Eastern. So, around when a lot of people were just getting up or, getting ready for work or whatever. And it trended on Twitter pretty highly. I think it might still be on trending right now as I'm doing this video. I haven't checked. But it went over pretty well. I liked it. I think that the difference between this trailer and the previous one, or the first one, this one's longer, so we get more of the story. Of course, the story of Venom, I think everybody already knows what it is. And you could tell what it is from that first trailer, but this one is more fleshed out. They had more time to do special effects on Venom. I thought the special effects on Venom in the first one were fine. I know a lot of people were complaining that the surface of Venom, like his skin, looked a bit too, like, plasticky or shiny. But my argument to that is, like, it doesn't look like what it would really look like. And I'm like, well, I mean, how many symbiotes do you know in real life? Like, what is a symbiote's flesh going to look like? It's not like we have any frame of reference in our real life experience to draw from, right? That's not what a symbiote would look like. Like, you don't know what a symbiote would look like because you've never seen one. They're fake. But anyways, we see more of him. The special effects in this trailer, I think the special effects look great. I know people like to get nitpicky, and there were people saying, oh, the special effects look bad in some scenes. I don't know what they were talking about. I thought it looked fine. I must not have a good eye for special effects, because there's a lot of movies where people will pick apart the VFX, and I think it looks fine. The same thing with Aquaman. I thought the VFX looked fine throughout there. And, Thanos in Infinity War, people complained about that, but I thought, and when the first trailers were released, I thought he looked fine. I thought Steppenwolf looked fine in Justice League. But people just like to be nitpicky with VFX for some reason. But anyways, we get our first full money shot of Venom in this trailer when he holds that guy and he's tall and towering over the guy and he says that famous line like eyes, pancreas, liver, or lungs, so many snacks, so little time. And I think he looks great. Looks straight out of the comics. I thought he was towering. He looked imposing, intimidating as Venom is supposed to look. Venom is a very large character. And I thought that looked great. I liked the large mouth. And this trailer was all about Tom Hardy. I know Michelle Williams and Riz Ahmed are the two other big stars in the movie. We don't see them that much because this trailer, I think, wanted to really showcase the main draw of the movie, which was Venom himself, which means they have to showcase a lot of Tom Hardy. And there was an interesting contrast between Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock, the reporter, and as, when he's in his Venom scenes. And, Eddie Brock, he doesn't sound like, I guess, what you would expect a typical reporter to sound like. He almost sounds like kind of silly. Although I'm making a generalization, and maybe there's no stereotypical one reporter personality type. There's all different kinds of people who are reporters. But, in movies, they usually don't have them sounding, I guess, like the way Eddie Brock sounds in this movie. But, Tom Hardy does a good job, I think, at least in terms of his voice acting. Because I think he does the voice for Venom, too. The voice he has for Eddie Brock is very different from the voice he has as Venom. And I think maybe the reason he makes Eddie Brock sound differently and stuff is because he really wants to differentiate from the intimidating, imposing Venom voice. Maybe Tom Hardy's running out of voices to do. Because Tom Hardy's career has been with a lot of awesome voices. Like, he had one for Bane, and he's done other movies where he sounded weird. So maybe, his one for Eddie Brock, he's like, I'll just use this one. Like in his library of voices or whatever. But I think that the reason they held off on this trailer is they wanted to get the VFX right. And they wanted to make Venom himself look as spectacular as he can possibly look. And what I thought throughout this movie, because, the whole plot is, guy gets, infected with this parasite that consumes him and takes over his life and makes his life worse, wrecks it. They reminded me of that old movie, The Fly. And then there was a remake, I think, in the early 80s with Jeff Goldblum. And I think that was starring a dude who, he was turned into like a human fly, a monster. And that messed up his life. And he was running from the police and stuff, if I remember correctly. My memory's vague. And this movie, Venom, with Eddie Brock being infected by this parasite and being hunted down by the authorities and stuff. And, his life making a turn for the worse. I think the same thing. It had the same kind of vibe. And this movie seems very dark. Very, hardcore. I think it's supposed to be R-rated. You can tell by the scenes, there's people looking like, they're killing other people. You don't see the blood and the gore, but they cut away. There was a scene where this lady seems to have the symbiote, and I think her hand gets sharp, or she, manifests a sharp, blade, and she, slices this dude. And so I think, Venom's going to go for a lot of, pretty hardcore stuff. They might not show it graphically, but I think people are going to be killed pretty, brutally in this movie, which is befitting the subject matter. I mean, Venom's a pretty hardcore character. At least he was when he was first introduced in the Spider-Man stories in the '90s, and I think this movie is going to honor that. And I like that move near the end of the trailer where Venom was on. He was in that room with all those tables, and his arms, morphed into like two blades, and he did like this super move. That's what I thought of, like a video game super move or a fighting game super move. That's what I thought of when I saw that scene in a good way. Like, that looked awesome. Or like in a beat 'em up, a Marvel beat 'em up game, like, a Ultimate Alliance, well, not Ultimate Alliance, but just one of those kinds of games where, that would be a special move that Venom would do if you're playing as him in the game. I thought that looked spectacular. I thought there was another scene where someone had, was infected with a symbiote and they bent over and like spikes flew out of their back to, hit the cops or authorities, around them. I thought that was cool. So, Venom, I think this trailer did a lot of good things for Venom, because before this trailer came out, I think a lot of people expected this movie to be crap because they weren't impressed with the first trailer and we hadn't seen that much, and I think people were expecting, oh, Venom's not going to be good, or they had written it off. But this trailer, I think, went over a lot better, and I think it has reinvigorated interest in this movie. And I think that Venom is more of a contender now, at least in terms of getting people's interest. So we'll see. I mean, I was always going to see it anyway, because I see movies like this all the time. But, more people than me may be more interested in Venom now than they were previously. But what do you think? I'm sure you've seen the trailer already by now. What are your opinions of it? Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like it on YouTube and subscribe to the channel because I appreciate your viewership, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.